All right, man. We got a lot to get to tonight. I'm going to try to get through this stuff as quick as we can. I know we have a hard stop. We've got some other things happening, so we're just going to roll through. We've got stuff that people will not believe tonight. So yeah, hold on tight, everybody. Let's go.
Let's go.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff.
That's right, everybody. Back again. Welcome to the big show. You get the horn show. Tad and Jeff here. Welcome back, brother. Good to have you after being under the weather last week.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back.
All right, man. So we are going to roll tonight rapid fire. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to get through. And man, we got some doozies this week. So we're going to keep it interesting and fast moving. And, you know, look, we've been talking a lot on the show recently about just state of the economy and, you know, different things like that, inflation and wars and everything else. Well, let me tell you something. I saw this the other day and I thought this here is worth a worth a look. So, you know, from time to time, you may, you know, peruse a site like Zillow to, you know, maybe check.
Sure.
You know, look at some different real estate, look at some new houses. This house is for sale in San Jose. So for people listening, I will describe, I just brought up a screenshot here. This is, you can find this on Zillow, 668 Potomac Court, San Jose, California, 95136, for sale for $1.550 million.
Not bad, not bad.
It can be yours. It is an inactive meth lab. They literally say it in the description for the property that this is an inactive meth lab. Zillow is putting that in there. And here's what's crazy. Not only do you have the opportunity, it's all boarded up. Not only do you have the ability to buy it for $1.550, just last week, they increased the price by $125,000. It just jacked the price up by an extra $125,000 for the inactive meth lab.
I mean, if you have all of the equipment still in there to make meth, I mean, it's a money making thing. So
That's
I
true.
can understand.
That's true. Yeah, you could maybe get a small business loan.
SBA available.
I mean, can you believe that for almost $1.6 million, you can buy a home that is pretty much just a tear down that you would have to do. The home is in complete disrepair. It's boarded up and everything. Tear it down, has a built-in meth lab. And that's what it's like if you want to do a little house shopping in San Jose.
Yeah, for 8% interest rate on top of that too. So yeah, very, very good investment opportunity here. I want to see, do they have any other pictures inside? I couldn't find them, but I was hoping they might have pictures of the meth lab.
Oh,
because,
God,
you know,
that's a good
maybe.
Yeah, and for the pickier buyer who's like, I don't know. I mean, if the meth lab was in better shape, I would consider it at this price. But this is just going to be a lot of restoration work for the meth lab.
We really weren't looking for a fixer-upper meth lab. We were looking for, you know, something we could just move in ready, get production started right away. Gosh. It's like House Hunters meth lab edition, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, hey, look, great passive income. You know, you can't look away from that in this economy. You gotta look for opportunities anywhere you can find them.
Repeat buyers. I mean, you know, it's
oh man, I saw that. I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing stuff.
So, I mean, they could have tore it down and just sold a lot, but they're selling the house and then they raised the price up by $125,000.
Yep.
Dang. So, is someone going to gut it? Like, are we going to see what's the dude on? I can't even think of his name. Who flips all those houses? Flipping houses guy. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, he's on like one of those shows.
Yeah,
he goes in there with his ex-wife. I don't know if they still do it anymore, but they go in there.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Tariq Al-Musa or something.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna see that on an episode of his show.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to believe that that could be just that is possible. I mean, now again, part of that is just the real estate market, I guess, in San Jose. But to think that that's the case, and just to be clear, I did not just pull this screenshot. I am actually on the Zillow page right now for that house, and they do not show any additional pictures, unfortunately.
Okay.
But they do say, great opportunity to own a large home on a large 6,000 square foot lot. Great location to freeway and expressway. Well, of course, it was very convenient for people to buy the meth there.
Yeah.
FHA has a loan option. Documentation is in the disclosure package. Home has an inactive meth lab and meth contamination. Please see county documents, noting the garage location, remediation process, and subsequent costs associated. Home has not been cleared of meth contamination and will be transferred to the new buyer in its current state. No access given prior to the property being cleared by the Santa Clara County Health Department guidelines. Access has been denied by the county.
Okay. Are there any HOA fees? Do they have a community pool or anything?
So that's a great question. Let me see here. So it was built in 1975. It has central air.
Well, that's nice.
It has a 1-car attached garage. They do not mention an HOA, so that could be a nice thing there.
Apparently not, because you ran a meth lab out of there. I think the HOA probably would have frowned on that. But couldn't get three neighbors to sign off on the meth lab. So,
well, they're really trying to make a killing on this, because here's the thing: the house last sold in March of 2021, and it sold for $1.51 million in 2021, presumably as a house and not as a meth lab. So now, 2 years later, they're trying to sell it for $1.55. So more money, $40,000 more, while it's a boarded up meth lab, than the last time that it sold as an actual house.
I mean, could there be anything more California than that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So there you have it. That's something at least to look at when you're thinking about shopping. Maybe stay out of San Jose right now. Maybe not be the best time to be purchasing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I saw this story the other day. In fact, I sent this out to on our group chat. Found this awesome story about this guy who came up. I said this man crawled so that I can walk. An accused con man came up with a bizarre but awesome scheme to get out of paying his restaurant tabs. He faked a heart attack in the restaurant. And so what he would do is he'd go in, he'd have his dinner and order drinks and sit there and, have a great time. And then as things were kind of starting to come to a close, oh boy, it's like the old like Sanford and Son thing. Oh, it's the big one.
Big one, Elizabeth. I'm coming.
And so he would fake a heart attack, and of course, like, get taken out of the restaurant, and wouldn't be wouldn't have to pay the bill. Nobody's going to be stopping him on the gurney on the way to the ambulance there to get the payment from him. However, again, we should learn this lesson: all good things in moderation. He did it 20 times. 20 different times. 20 different times. And so what he was doing, this is a guy, his name was Adis. He took on a, quote, typical Russian tourist persona. He was doing this in Spain. He moved there from Lithuania, and he would go to different restaurants and he would go through all of this stuff. And then right around the time, again, you had to pay the bill. Here he goes, slumped over. And so to give like the full picture, and again, if you are listening to the podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube. But that's the guy laid out on the floor.
It looks like he's sleeping.
He just like falls over on the floor, and everyone thinks. So here's the thing: this most recent one comes up, and he fakes his heart attack, of course, as he is wont to do. And they didn't fall for it at all. And the reason is because After 20 times of doing it, different restaurant owners were talking to each other and they
Oh my
figured out the
gosh.
situation. So this guy, Adis, he sits down at this restaurant. He orders a seafood dish and 2 glasses of whiskey, knocks it all back, and then tries to leave without paying. But an eagle-eyed employee blocked him and demanded he paid the $36.80. That's all he owed.
Oh my
So the guy
gosh.
says he needed to get the money from his hotel room, but they wouldn't let him leave to do that because they didn't trust him. So then he pretended to be sick and slumped onto the floor. So of course then they called the police, and the officers recognized him immediately as the scammer who'd been arrested numerous times already for doing the same thing. So he was arrested for the unpaid $36 bill and then hauled off to the police station. Typically what happens is, because he's been arrested before, he spends a few days in jail and then he's released and he goes right back to doing his thing. And so a lot of the restaurant owners in the city have been posting pictures of him so that places are on the lookout for this guy who will come in, eat and drink, fake a heart attack, and roll out.
I mean, $36. I'm pretty sure, like, I spend that at Taco Bell on the family, you know? Like, he's not even spending, like, hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
No,
He's
not
like,
fine dining.
No, he's spending $36.
So great.
$44 with tip, you know? It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I was like, wow, okay, this is an interesting guy. I mean, you know, I get it, like where you're like, oh man, this is gutsy, but I'm gonna try to scam my way out of this dinner. Okay, maybe you do it once and then you're like, I can't believe it worked. You know, I'm gonna wait a while. I'm not gonna do it the next week, but I'll wait a while and maybe I'll do it again. Some other place, some other time. But you know, 20 times I really feel like you're pushing your luck a little bit. Like like, is there any point at like 12 or 15 where like, I don't know, maybe I need to go to a different town or something? You know, like I'm staying in this one little spot. He's not in a massive city. He's in a little port town in Spain.
But then they're picking him up, like the hospital. Presumably they're calling the ambulance. The ambulance is picking him up. He now has to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the hospital, then find a way to get home. Presumably, you know, Ubering, I'm assuming, you know. Like all that work for $40 meal, it just doesn't seem worth it. I mean, again, if it's like a couple $1,000 meal, maybe you try it once, go to the hospital and, you know, waste an evening and then find your way home and then never do it again. But for $40 meals, like, bro.
Look, when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
You know what? It's not about the money.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like work to him. This doesn't feel like work. This is a good thing. He's happy.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! Come on, man. I literally thought it was like $1,000 that he was racking up. You know, getting the top shelf. I mean, so he's not even getting good whiskey at that point.
No, he's getting nothing out of this.
Literally, have spent $30 just on a glass of whiskey before this man got a seafood meal. And 2 glasses.
Again, prices are probably cheaper in Spain.
I'm
and then
assuming,
the other thing I'll say is we don't know that he's actually going out every time in an ambulance. It could be like that he fakes it like, okay, I'm just going to try to leave. And then they don't let him leave. And then he's like, he comes clean like, okay, well, I'm not really having a heart attack. And then they call the cops. Like maybe because he's been getting arrested. I don't know if he's been getting arrested from all of the restaurants or is he getting arrested from the hospital? Like, where they're just like, no, this guy's not having a heart attack. It's the same guy from last week. He still isn't having a heart attack. This guy's just really sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just
hilarious.
thought that, and I saw it. I thought that was pretty funny stuff. And you know, it just tells you everyone has a different thing, right? Like where you're kind of like, man, I don't know. For whatever reason, that's a thrill to that guy. Does he not have $36? He probably does.
Probably does. Yeah.
But it's just like, hey, man, I'm this gets me pumped up. I like being able to run this game.
That's my thing.
I'm kind of what I'm known for around here. kind of a big deal. You go into different restaurants. There's a good chance you'll see my picture in there. So
so whatever, you know.
I don't make a big deal out of it, and I hope to God they don't make a big deal out of it. But it's kind of my thing.
My thing.
So moving on, I thought now we're going to flip all the way to the other side of the spectrum. from a humorous, weird story about a strange person
Okay.
to a not particularly humorous but fascinating story about an interesting person. On September 25th of 2000, 19-year-old Kevin Hines attempted to end his own life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. Plunging over 220 feet at a speed of 75 miles per hour, he hit the water below, shattering 3 of his vertebrae and narrowly missing his spine by 2 millimeters. Despite the odds, he miraculously survived the impact. Upon realizing he was still alive, an intense will to live surged within him. Yet the weight of his clothes continually pulled him beneath the surface of San Francisco Bay in the rough waters. For what seemed like an eternity, he struggled to resurface briefly, gasping for air just enough to hold on to life. Suddenly, he felt an unusual force from below, lifting him above the water's surface, where he was able to remain until the Coast Guard arrived. It was only later that he discovered the mysterious presence keeping him afloat was actually a sea lion that had been supporting his body until the rescue boat arrived, as eyewitnesses had observed. His story gained major media coverage, and he has since become a motivational speaker and advocate for suicide prevention.
I feel like I remember this story when it happened. There was some interview that they had done. I seem to remember that, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
First off, that
Now,
you
again,
survive that jump, because that many people have not. And
no.
I didn't realize that he would hit the speeds of 75 miles per hour to that water. Whew.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine you're dropping 220 feet at 75 miles per hour?
Gosh, man, I did not know they would get that fast. That is crazy that anyone survives that, let alone survive and have a sea lion save you. Jeez.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that's terminal velocity, I guess. But, you know, you sit there and you think about like, wow, it's miraculous, you know, that guy lived. And it is, because obviously whether it's the hand of God or the hand of a sea lion that picks you up out of the water like that, pretty amazing situation there. But yeah, what are the odds? I mean, that he survives in the first place, that he then is able to stay afloat, that a sea lion swims under him, takes him up to the surface and holds him there until the Coast Guard can get there to get him out, and that he's able to completely survive after shattering 3 of his vertebrae. Yeah. So, you know, again, next time you think your days are frustrating, you're struggling, you know, whatever the case may be, hopefully maybe there'll be a sea lion in your life to find a way to pick you up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to move on from there. I saw this story. Thought this was pretty good. What you got?
Just hope you have a sea lion to pick you up. What?
Yeah, for anyone just tuning in, they're like, wait, what? Hope you got a sea lion in your life to pick you up.
Having a rough day.
Get you a sea lion.
Get you a sea lion.
So yeah, in 2004, Yale students executed a clever prank by disguising themselves as a Harvard pep squad and tricking Harvard fans into unwittingly holding up placards that spelled "We suck" at their own game.
That's so fantastic.
So, according to a barely restrained write-up in the Yale Daily News, representatives of the fictitious Harvard Pep Squad, because that's the thing, there is not a Harvard Pep Squad. They made up this idea of a Harvard Pep Squad. They distributed red and white construction paper pieces in a specific order to Harvard Stadium's home team side. They explained to curious sign holders that if everyone raised them simultaneously, the message "Go Harvard" would be visible from the Yale side of the stands. Unbeknownst to the crowd, these students were not part of any Harvard pep squad. As it turns out, they were Yale students. And when the signs went up, the Yale crowd responded with cheers and chants of "You suck," as an entire half a stadium of Harvard fans held up paper that spelled out "We suck." The Harvard crowd, unaware of the prank, even repeated the sign several times with some Harvard students remaining oblivious to what had transpired for days. So again, just so happens, if you're watching the video of this, I can give you a visual here. This photo was taken at one point during the game. So it's pretty significant. It's not like it's just like 8 people holding something up. I mean, this is hundreds of people that are holding this up. And it's not just red letters, but they're all outlined in white as well and everything. Whole half of the stadium.
Oh, could there be?
And here's the kids dressed up as the Harvard Pep Squad.
Oh, that is so
there it is from the side.
Funny. Is there a nerdier thing that Yale could possibly have done than this? It's just so fantastic. I mean, it is just so great. I mean, you just have these nerdy schools and you know, and this is what they come up with. And the lot, like, this is something I couldn't pull off. Like, I couldn't I couldn't even get them to spell one letter, and they figured out how to each person who has to hold what. The thought process that goes into this has to be immense. It's insane to the like that they knew, you know, because there's white letterings and there's red letters. And
it's like they're checking tickets to say, what seat number are you? Oh, you need to be a red card. You need to be a white card. You need like
mapped it all out and then got them all. I mean, it's great. It's so underrated as a prank. It is fantastic. Like, I just can't imagine how much work went into that to get that to work.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And so they were 2 Yale students from the class of 2005. They executed the prank with the help of 20 classmates. And I mean, they went out there, they made up their fake shirts that said Harvard Pep Squad. Went out and then mostly with Harvard alumni, a few faculty, students, and others. And everyone just kind of went along with it, right? And it's like any of these things. You see these at different games and stuff, and you know, everyone holds up their little piece, and then it spells out something, you know. But it's like from underneath, you don't know what it looks like or anything. You're probably looking later, thinking it's going to look really cool. You're like, oh, did ESPN cover that? Is that going to show up anywhere? It sure did. And you know, the thing that's funny too is this is not just as simple as what happened just that day. Yale students also registered the domain name harvardsucks.org and posted a video behind the scenes detailing their efforts so that people could go on and watch the work that went into being able to do this. And then this great little bit of, psychiatric torture maybe that goes into it. The prank's organizers claimed that members of the Harvard band helped them make this happen. That was not true. They said it just to put salt in the wound to Harvard that their own people had betrayed them and helped make this happen.
Oh, that is so great.
Yeah, so they spread that news like, oh no, Harvard helped us. The Harvard band helped us. So, you know, there's probably a huge investigation into the band and everything else. Like, who did this? Who helped? Who betrayed us to Yale?
I want names.
We demand justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thought that story was worth repeating because even though it was a while back, it's the kind of thing that, you know, will live on in infamy. And honestly, so they kept the website for quite a while. Sometime in 2021, the domain name harvardsucks.org expired and was not renewed. But that means that this happened in 2004. So they kept the website from 2004 to 2021.
Someone was paying their $9.99 a year GoDaddy domain name fees, weren't they?
And sometime in 2021, it expired and was not renewed. And as of 2023, harvardsucks.org, both it directs to a domain not claimed screen. So unfortunately, if anyone wanted to relive the glory days and look up harvardsucks.org, it's no longer an active website. But I mean, you did have over 15 years to be able to check it out.
Yeah.
So if you didn't keep up with it by then, that's really on you. You just didn't
Yeah.
care enough. Yeah. So anyway, thought that was a pretty great story. Just goes to show you can't trust anybody, including your own people, even when you're at Harvard. All right, moving on. I saw this one. You know, the world is a small place, right? And, you know, even though we think it's big, it's a very small world. You hear that phrase, you find yourself around people and in circles with different people you may never expect to find yourself around. And how do you handle yourself when you find yourself in such a weird circumstance? Well, in 1987, actor Sean Penn was incarcerated for 60 days due to reckless driving and assaulting an extra on the set of the film Colors. Oh, okay. So first of all, everyone
Was
kind of
that
knows
two
Sean Penn's
things in one?
Yes.
Was he assaulting him as he's
for 60
recklessly
days
driving?
due to reckless driving and assaulting an extra on the set of the film.
Okay.
Presumably not assaulting them with the car that he was recklessly driving, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he like beat up an extra and then jumped in his car and recklessly drove away. Let's hope it's the same day.
That's
But during his time in jail, so he's sentenced to 60 days in jail. During his time in jail, Sean Penn had a guard deliver a note to him from fellow inmate Richard Ramirez, the Nightstalker.
Oh my gosh.
So Sean Penn's in prison for 60 days. The Nightstalker, Richard Ramirez, finds out that Sean Penn is in there and convinces a prison guard to sneak a note to Sean Penn. The officer does it. The note asked Penn for his autograph. So the Nightstalker, now keep in mind, you're on death row.
Yeah, what do you need
gonna
an
do with an
autograph?
Like,
So weird.
almost like autographs in general really aren't that useful. Like nowadays, that's why the selfie became such a big thing. People want to get pictures with celebrities or athletes or whatever now. Like, what is an autograph? Anyone could sign it. You don't know if it's real or not. You know, now you get into whole things with certificates of authenticity and everything else. But autographs used to be the big thing. But if you are the Nightstalker, Richard Ramirez, and you're already in prison on death row, what do you need Sean Penn's autograph for?
That is the weirdest thing.
But however, Penn responded to him with a note expressing his wish for Ramirez to be executed soon. And Ramirez did not write back. Yeah. So essentially, this guy's like, wow, Sean Penn's in here. That's crazy. I'm going to write a note to him and ask for his autograph. And then Sean Penn writes back and says, I hope you get executed soon. Which, again, you know what? Don't meet your heroes. You know?
I mean, was it Love Sean? I mean, did he still give him the autograph? And then what prison guard is doing a favor for Richard Ramirez?
Exactly, yes. Who is the prison guard that's like, I want to stay on his good side.
Yeah,
I want to stay on the good side of the Nightstalker. Again, it is a weird world that we live in. I don't understand it most of the time. But if you told me that Sean Penn and the Nightstalker, Richard Ramirez, would be sharing a prison time together.
Or pen pals, essentially. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, essentially.
Pretty well pen pals. Wrote notes back and forth. Undeniably. Yeah. And yeah, I thought that was pretty nutty. So apparently, Penn assaulted a movie extra named Jeffrey Klenn. 2 years prior, Sean Penn had already been charged with attempted murder for a shocking incident involving a paparazzi. And so that's why they were going pretty hardcore on getting him locked up for 60 days. He served 33 days of that sentence. Mm-hmm. And I guess I was wrong. At the time, the Nightstalker was awaiting trial. So he had not actually been sentenced to death yet. So he was just awaiting trial and, you know.
Well, so then there was a chance he could have been found innocent. Let me, you know.
Yeah,
I got to get back there on my feet a little bit when I get out. So have this
will be a great conversation piece with people when I get out. I mean, it's so easy to get people to talk with me, and then stalk them and kill them like I
whatever I
do.
do. Hey, come here. You want to see something cool?
Have you ever seen Sean Penn's signature before? Because I've got it. Don't read the rest of it, please. Don't read the rest of what he wrote, where he wishes that I would get executed quickly.
Yeah. Did you read the rest of it? Oh, that makes me mad.
You promised me you wouldn't read it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah, man.
gosh.
So I don't know. I thought, man, what an interesting world we live in. That Sean Penn and the Nightstalker Richard Ramirez would be exchanging notes in prison. And now we move on. And so, look, I've got lots of other things I can talk about. I have one that I'm going to close the show with tonight. We are going to try to be quick and rapid fire tonight. So we're not going to go too long. But before I get into this last story, just because I think this one's super interesting and cool looking, and particularly I have some really crazy video with it. Do you have anything that you wanted to touch on, though? Anything in the news? Anything that's worthy of being talked about and putting our spin on it?
Man, it's a good one. I hope you're going to do the story. If we're not, we'll go back to it. Of the certain animal.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm going to close with. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. And, one thing I'll touch on really briefly we can throw out there is just, everything's happening with Bitcoin and crypto and stuff like this now. And I mean, we've been saying it on the show. We have talked about crypto on the show many times. We have, talked through it and explained a lot to people about different aspects of it, how it works, what to look for, buying signals and things like this. The whole market now is lining up specifically for Bitcoin. And so now it appears that we're very, very close to the SEC approving a Bitcoin ETF. So an ETF is an exchange trade fund. So what this is essentially, right now you'd have to buy Bitcoin, but now you'd be able to buy into an ETF that buys Bitcoin. So you would own percentages or pieces of a Bitcoin. Stock ETFs are very, very popular,
right?
Because you buy into it in stocks, and it's like the ETF may hold 50 different stocks. And so when you put your money into it, it's like you're getting a little piece of all of those stocks versus just buying into one or two stocks. So a Bitcoin ETF, you end up being able to have access to a much larger Bitcoin portfolio, and you can buy into it. And Bitcoin has been, what is it, up 15% in the last 24 hours, I think, something like that?
Yeah, I want to say minimally 12% over the past, day and a half or so. It's definitely done well. For sure.
It's up over 20% during the past week.
20% the past week. Jeez.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, I think that's going to be super interesting to see where it develops, where it goes. The price of Bitcoin right now is at almost $34,000. That's the highest it's been so far this year. It's the highest that it's been in the last year. And the last time that Bitcoin was at $34,000 or higher would have been sometime around May of 2022.
Wow.
So it's been, a year and a half since we've seen Bitcoin at these prices. And we know in general, we've talked about it again on the show, that when value of money is going down, when the economy is bad, that is oftentimes when you see Bitcoin going up as a store of value. Again, think of it like gold, right? It's a very similar type of process and acts as a store of value. So definitely going to see some things changing, I think, in particularly with Bitcoin. Separately, I do think we know from our own experience that the overall crypto market follows Bitcoin.
Yep,
so it's definitely very much a rising tide lifts all boats when it comes to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin in particular. And you and I, have a little Bitcoin ourselves, and hopeful to see that continue to go up. But I thought it was very interesting how now the government's attitude is starting to change, and the questions they're asking. I was watching an interview earlier today with Kathy Wood from ARK Investments, who is a massive Tesla stockholder and obviously has been incredibly successful and is incredibly wealthy. And ARK Investments is trying to put out their own Bitcoin ETF. And she said that the SEC is now coming and asking them questions and things like that. Whereas before, this was never even considered an option. There was no chance that this was going to be allowed. And so she said that it definitely seems to be a change in attitude toward the idea of a Bitcoin ETF.
Of course, but it's on their terms, right? So, I mean, it's not like the government hasn't bought into Bitcoin and, who lowered the prices. We have that whole thing, with SBF and all that stuff, who tried to get them to drown the price of that.
Right.
I mean, it's, if the government's approving it, trust me, they have their hand in it. They're not just going to just willy-nilly say, yeah, go ahead, let's make something valuable over the dollar. They have to have their hand in it. That it's if they're approving it, just know that they're heavily involved in it for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it's hard to believe. I mean, there are still a lot of people out there that are saying that Bitcoin could go to $1 million.
I mean, I guess it could go.
It's under $34,000.
Could you imagine though? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know what makes it go there. I don't know what causes the price to go from, even 34,000, even when it was at 9,000, what makes it go from 9 to 34? I mean, I don't know. I guess scarcity of it. I mean, they're about to be having soon, if I'm not mistaken, that starts, is that spring? Yeah.
I believe it is something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're going to start doing, so, I mean, there's only so many of them. I mean, that's what they say. I don't know. Yeah. Could they just make more? I mean, there's only supposed to be so many dollars.
Right. Well, yeah, it is a little different, thankfully, but yes. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's Cathie Wood is one of the people that has set a $1 million price target on Bitcoin by 2030.
I don't believe anything she said. She's so all over the map and all over the place. But I mean, when you got people like that saying stuff, I mean, it's not nothing. We'll say that much.
Yeah,
so
not at all. And I mean,
she's been wrong a lot.
True, but BlackRock is also creating their own Bitcoin ETF.
Well, of course, because BlackRock owns everything. So
that's right.
Why wouldn't they be involved in that?
And we know that the tail wags the dog on these types of things, right? The people 100%. With the money decide how it's going to go. BlackRock has already invested a ridiculous amount of money into infrastructure to be able to create their Bitcoin ETF. You have Grayscale. You have all these different these ETFs that are ready to go that just need government approval. Yeah, it seems like something's going to happen here.
Sure. Yeah, they'll get it as long as the government gets their share of it and gets their cut of it. So, and I guess that's the price you pay to be able to hold something like that. So
it's true. And you're absolutely right. I mean, for the record, I'm not saying that anyone out there should just blindly listen to Cathie Wood or anyone else.
Please don't.
But I will say a lot of, Cathie Wood's thing and claim to fame, it has been definitely built around Tesla. I mean, obviously she's had tremendous success in so many other things, but definitely Tesla's played a role. She predicted in 2018 that Tesla shares would hit $4,000. No one at the time was saying that it would get that high. And by January of 2021, Tesla shares hit a split adjusted $4,000. And so, she gets a lot of credit for that for obvious reasons. And there are other things as well, but certainly lots of swings and misses as there are going to be anytime, I guess you're in that field.
Right.
But very curious to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else you had?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, then let's close with this. So in the rugged and rocky mountains of the Zagros Mountains in Iran, a remarkable predator roams known as the spider-tailed horned viper. Now, I'm going to show you a video of this in a minute. And when I do, I want you to really understand, because it's going to take a second for you to understand what you're looking at, I believe. And it is pretty crazy to see. So let me go ahead and share my screen here so you can have a look at this. Now, what you are seeing here is essentially for anyone who's not able to see this, or people listening to the podcast, there's a snake kind of coiled up. Looks like maybe a rattlesnake or something like that. Its tail has what appears to be like a little spider that's crawling around at the end of it. What you realize is that little spider is actually part of the tail of this snake. And so it's actually moving that spider back and forth to draw in prey and then attack it. Now, is that crazy looking or what?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that is that's next level killing right there.
It looks just like a spider. Like if that, and I'm assuming, it's in Iran, so probably deserty type area. So that thing's probably able to camouflage itself really well. And then the tail, the spider looking thing on the tail is black. So it's going to stand out in that sand. Yep. Oh, could you imagine? I mean, imagine stepping on that. Like you just think it's a spider. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill that spider. And then a viper reaches itself up and attacks you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you. Godly, nature is awful, evil, and amazing at the same time. Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. So that is the spider-tailed horned viper. So yes, the spider-tailed horned viper is no joke. The tip resembles the shape of a spider and moves just like a spider, is used as a hunting tool to lure insectivorous birds. So birds that would like to eat insects come down. They say, oh, I see a little spider there. They go for the spider. Boom. Snake grabs the bird. No chance of survival.
None. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. So shout out to the spider-tailed horned viper in the Zagros Mountains in Iran. If you're out there listening, we appreciate you. Because we do not want trouble with you.
Stay in Iran, if you will. Just do not make your way here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Hope you love it over in Iran. I hear great things. So, yeah. So anyway, I thought that was just a fascinating one. You don't normally, I mean, obviously we've all seen, crazy things as it pertains to, nature stuff, but man, I mean, that idea, it's not just taking the shape of something, it's literally moving like a spider crawling around. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty amazing. In fact, hold on one second. Let me this, because I just found something really crazy. And let me share my screen one more time, and I think this is going to be worth it. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the tail of one of these snakes. This is what it's like in nature. This is other spiders. There's a bird looking around.
Okay, look at that.
Oh, look at that little spider. That looks delicious.
Yummy. That's easy
I'll
prey.
swoop down here and take a little bite. Come on, little spider, get in my belly. Bam.
Oh,
snake bite.
Gosh.
Not
even fair. Not even fair.
Yeah, there's no chance.
No, should be outlawed.
Yes. Yeah, round these suckers up. Get them out of here. Yeah. Thought it was nuts, man. And again, like you said, blends perfectly into the mountains of Iran. I mean, there's no way you're going to see this. Look at these, like it has hard plates and everything all over it.
Yeah, look how well I mean, you couldn't even tell that thing. I'd be dead.
Yeah, 100%.
Do not put me in the wild.
And
I'm not
knows
gonna make it.
How to move it like a spider. Like it knows how to mimic a spider, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Ugh.
Yeah. So anyway, there you have it. So in case you needed anything to fuel your nightmares tonight, I think you have found it when you are looking at the spider-tailed horned viper. Nightmare fuel for everyone. So. All right. Listen, man, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Anything you wanted to say before we close this sucker down?
Nope. Good to be back. We'll be better next week.
All right. So, again, thank you to our global audience. Check us out on all the social media pages. Obviously, our YouTube page, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that stuff. Our Twitter, or X, as they call it, at Get the Horns Show. check us out, man. We're trying to constantly have stuff out there to keep you entertained. We're doing a pretty good job of it. We're going to try to continue to do even better. So we now have our 2 shows. So we have our sports shows separate from this show. And we're encouraging people to look that out. We will be building out separate channels as well, but we're getting to that. There's a lot of good and exciting things that are upcoming for us. So, definitely telling people to keep in the loop on it, because it's going to be some good stuff. And I'll tell you, just as a closing, I put a poll out, and I put two polls out recently. One was a sports poll. This is on YouTube. Are the Patriots the worst team in the NFL? And this is what's great about our listeners. 50% said definitely, and 50% said no way. Nothing's been decided there.
I like it.
Now, earlier I put out a new poll. Who do you support? Israel, Palestine, both, neither. Hasn't been out for very long. So far, Israel has 50% of the vote. Coming in at the other 50%, neither. So it's either Israel or no one at all. So that's
I could see that sentiment. Yeah, I could see that.
Only have a handful of votes right now. Only have a handful of votes. So I mean, both or Palestine could still make a run at this thing. It's still early,
yeah.
But right now, it's either Israel or nothing.
Interesting pool. I like that. I'd be curious to see how that one ends up, because that's I think there's a lot of neither in this country. I think we're all probably just tired of putting our noses in other people's business, but that might be a show for next week.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll have some better results. We only have a handful of votes so far. I just put it out not long, earlier today. So we'll get some more going on that, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks as always to our global audience. We will try to do an even better job of entertaining you next time. We appreciate you sticking with us, and make sure you share the clips with your friends and family. We appreciate it as always. Otherwise, we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.